I truly wanted to read you the latest news today, my dear friends. I genuinely intended to read the daily news, but when I carefully opened the various news pages, I was absolutely horrified by what I saw. Theft. Theft. Murder. And I'm not reading some kind of tabloid press. This is Bloomberg. This is what the Moscow Times, what I usually read. Not at all. Not the tabloid press. But this theft, murder, and people's behavior, there's some kind of Dolina effect going on right now. And Larisa, of course, did well. She acted quickly. At least some effect, even if it's negative. They named it after Larisa Dolina. Something connected with old people, with theft. Well, of course, now we're all old. And I'm getting on in years, too. Larisa Dolina is also getting older. I remember when we were young, we used to meet in Zhukovka. Back then, it was just the beginning of those kinds of business relationships. Those were, some really interesting times. We were discovering the world from a new perspective. Maybe it seems strange to many now, but back then, we were discovering the world. I remember one of our children, we got together back then, me with my kids, we gathered at the dacha. All the dachas were in the same place, all along the same road, the Rublyovo-Uspenskoye highway. All the dachas were there. So to go or even walk, though mostly, of course, we drove, to go from one Zhukovka to another Zhukovka, from the first to the second, from the second to the third, from the third to Ilinskoye Zhukovka or to Alexandrovka, that's exactly where we went. We went to Galya's to celebrate her daughter Nastenka's birthday. Nastenka who? Nastenka was there. She is the granddaughter of the president of Moldova, Luchinskaya. Nastenka Luchinskaya. So we arrived there as a small group. It was literally just me with the kids, Galia with her daughter Luchinskaya. And who else? Galia Berezovskaya, yes, with her daughter. And then Larisa arrived. Larisa came alone, without her daughter, in this luxurious limousine, huge and black. Well, of course, she's an actress. She needs limousines. It's not like me. I drive my Range Rover. I'm a fan of Range Rovers. I've been driving Range Rovers since 1997. I've had a lot of them already. Of course, they change over time. And the Defender. I had a Defender in Moscow. I bought it, equipped it. In fact, I spent more on the equipment than the Defender itself cost. And so we were celebrating then. I remember it because it was during those winter days and there was so much snow, just an enormous amount. And Larisa arrived in her limousine, that black one. And the snow, I don't even know, it was so fluffy, just an enormous amount. Well, my Jeep could get through, but her limousine, well, at least she had a driver. Of course, she was with her driver. Then, when she was leaving, we watched her as she made her way through those snowdrifts. The snow just kept falling and falling and falling. Do you know what that's like? In the Moscow suburbs, the snow just falls. You can't clear it and you can't get through. The snowdrifts were literally waist deep. So what I remember about Larisa, what stuck with me? No, friends, I don't have any bad memories. I wouldn't be telling this if I did. What I remember about her is that she used to cook chicken for us. She would say, wait, I'll make you some chicken right now. Jewish-style chicken. The chicken was put over a 3-liter jar. I just couldn't understand it, because by law, a 3-liter jar should have burst. It was carefully put into the oven and then slowly baked there. And why, one might ask, did you truly need such an elaborate ritual just to prepare a simple chicken? It was placed on a large 3-liter glass jar. I honestly don't know the exact reason, but it was certainly an interesting and unique method. In any case, I thoroughly enjoyed that delicious chicken, which was perfectly baked on a 3-liter jar. I ate it only once in my life when Larisa Dolina made it, and that's it. And no one ever made it again. At least not in my presence. So Jewish-style chicken from Larisa Dolina's hands, I remember that. I remember it very well. But the chicken turned out wonderful. I can't say anything bad about it. I liked it. I think that, and everyone else did too. The kids, of course, were also delighted, but they were busy with their own things, running around that huge dacha. This was a dacha that was provided to us by the presidential administration. Some people rented them. Well, basically almost all the dachas were rented out at that time. All the dachas that once belonged to high-ranking officials were now being given to their own people, so to speak. Not just to anyone, of course, not to everyone friends, but to their own, and for rent. Because the presidential administration didn't want to give them away for free either. After all, it had to make some money somehow. So they made money off of us. So that's the memory I have with Larisa. I have to say, it's a kind, good New Year's memory. It was actually in December, as far as I remember. And it's such a warm memory. And now Larisa Dolina's name is being associated with some kind of fraud. I mean, not her personally, but she was deceived. And this effect of Larisa Dolina, or whatever it will be called, the Larisa Dolina standard perhaps, I don't know what name they'll give this phenomenon in society, but it's when the elderly are deceived. Of course, it's a very unpleasant situation in society when the elderly are deceived, and the elderly suffer simply because they are old. They don't go to defend themselves. Some people have a team behind them, someone they can call and ask the authorities for help. But friends, let's say, who exactly are you supposed to call? Back when I was young, all my colleagues who were much older than me, none of them are alive anymore. No one, they've all passed away. My good friend was Fyodor Ivanovich Ledygin. The former director of the GRU, he also passed away a long time ago. But these are the kinds of situations when our own lives are also coming to some sort of conclusion. Maybe not a complete end yet, but the end of a certain cycle. And this ongoing cycle of ours, I truly don't know if it genuinely spurs us on or not, or precisely how good a cycle it ultimately is, but the undeniable fact that they've deliberately turned Larisa Dolina into this prominent symbol of deeply offended pensioners, the profound effect of stealing from others. This truly creates a rather significantly negative mood and widespread discontent in society. Wherever you look, there's some kind of theft. Wherever you look, endless deception. People, you say that you are highly spiritual. By the way, friends, here's what I wanted to tell you. Here, I've taken a couple of jabs at Svetlana Pionova. She seems to be a Russian patriot, right? But when you do an analysis the way I know how to do it, I put the pieces together, everything, it's elementary, 2 + 2, I can count it. And instead of 4, I'll come up with 125 or 114 for you. So, what I want to say is that now it shows in the way that the elderly are being mistreated. And as if for the youth, for the residents of Russia, this has become a normal, everyday thing. Mistreated the elderly? What else can be said? There is no spirituality, none at all. It seemed like we were pursuing spirituality. We were striving for spirituality. But where is that spirituality? Tell me, please. There is no sign of spirituality? It's a terrible phenomenon in society. I don't know, something needs to be done to stop it. But as for Pionova here, my friends, I was attacked when I brought her up and said that this is a KGB project. And it's obvious. For so many years, 25 or 35 years, 25 years, I think, Svetlana Pionova has been trying to play at being some kind of president. She just has to get into power somehow. Old ladies too, huh? Just look at what kind of old lady she is. There's the Dolina effect over there, and here it's Svetlana Pionova. Yeah, let her have at it. Basically, she's desperate for power. This is, of course, a KGB project where they search for and watch everyone who disagrees with society. And then all these people will suffer. That's what's going to happen. So that's how I started getting pecked at from her side. Yesterday, my website, my YouTube channel was attacked.